You are listening to the Self-Trust Solution Podcast with Dawn Ledet, episode number 14. Welcome back. Today, let's talk about self-care and infusing it into achievement. This episode is good for anyone who struggles with overwhelm, stress, or burnout when it comes to pursuing your goals and aspirations. Basically, if you, like me, not only don't infuse self-care into your achievement process, but sacrifice your self-care, you want to tune in. We're going to talk about the importance of self-care in reaching for and achieving goals, the 3 components to infusing self-care into the achievement process, my personal practice of self-care in achieving goals, and how to cultivate a practice of infusing self-care into your process. Want to know where you land on the self-trust scale? Visit me at theselftrustcoach.com and take the free self-trust quiz. Now let's dive in. So tactically, when we are stressed out, when we're burnt out or depleted, we don't make decisions as effectively. We can make them rashly or overthink them, and follow through is usually less strategic. It's more reactionary. You work more hours, you sleep less, which then leads to even more rash and panic decisions. You move from accessing your wisdom and your strategic, forward-thinking mindset into more of a fight or flight response, putting out fires. If it sounds like I have firsthand knowledge of this, it's because I do. And so it's actually what led me to looking for a better way, a more effective way of achieving my goals, of reaching for the things that I wanted to achieve and accomplish, and do them in a way that served me. Because the truth is, when we are giving up our self-care, really forfeiting it, we are depleting the very brain, the very person, the energy that is so important to achieving your goal. It's so interesting. We use ourselves up as a resource instead of understanding how important it is to replenish and to rejuvenate and to take care of that resource, because it is finite. We don't take care of ourselves, we really can't continue to accomplish new things. We can't continue to serve our purpose or our goals. So the 3 components to infusing self-care into the achievement process, while so often we think that it's these external things that we need to do, like taking a break to get a massage or facial or retail therapy or spending time with friends and family, which all of those things are amazing. But when we dial it into how can we infuse it, instead of self-care being taking a break from our achievement, how can we infuse it into the process? And that's what we're talking about here. And the 3 components to this are connection to self, compassion for self, and belief in self. So what does that look like? So in my own personal practice of self-care, through achieving goals, through the 3 steps it takes to achieve anything, which is to make decisions, follow through, and have your own back so that you can continue to make decisions, follow through, and move forward all the way up until your goal. So what I did to create connection to self, compassion for self, and belief in myself is that I first and foremost had to limit my consumption of outside voices. So there's 2 reasons. And what I mean by consumption of outside voices is I had to limit what I was listening to and why. I always had music on, the TV on and music on, podcast, reading a book. And why I was doing it, not only do I love to learn, which is beautiful, right? Totally fine if that's your reason, but it was also a distraction. And when I removed that distraction, meaning that I created more space to listen to my own brain, my own thoughts, then I could access my own brilliance. To be clear, all the thoughts that come into this brain of mine are not gems and they're not all ready for public consumption. But by listening and not shutting them down and not pushing them away or covering them up by the noise of others, I was able to access what I needed to access. I was able to see what was useful for me and what of those thoughts were not useful for me. Letting those things bubble up to the top, actually paying attention to them, allowed me to access more of what I have to offer. I'm going to take a look at and see, is this a real fear or is it a false assumption? So the next thing that I did, besides connection to myself, which meant spending more time listening to myself and not shutting any of it down, not making myself wrong for whatever I was thinking and not judging it, just noticing it. When I started creating that connection to myself, in addition to deciding ahead of time that I wouldn't judge it and that I wouldn't shut it down, that in itself started creating compassion for myself. Where I took that further was that when I feel down or bad or demotivated or uninspired, I don't force myself to just push through. I may still do the work. In fact, in most cases, I do, but I check in with what I need first. What do I need? Why am I feeling this way? What am I believing either about myself or my situation that is making me feel this way? What do I need? And that simple question feels so loving. Sometimes all I need is a breath to acknowledge that I don't feel great or that I don't feel like doing what's on my calendar. And that's okay. Like, it's completely fine. What do I need to do it anyway? Like, what would feel great to me? And sometimes I need a quick 5-minute step outside or my favorite fizzy water. The time and effort are minuscule, but the effects are monumental. The difference between me pushing through and ignoring my feelings and making myself move forward even when I don't want to versus what do you need? It makes a huge difference in how I move forward on those things. And sometimes it means not moving forward at the moment. But I will tell you, just by giving that time and attention and compassion, more times than not, I continue forward. The third thing is belief in self. I had a lot of belief that I discovered was more bravado, meaning me trying to convince myself that I believed in myself, trying to convince others that I believed in myself without actually giving myself permission to believe in myself. And when I realized that that was a choice, it didn't have to be based on anything in the past, anything that I've done or not done, things that I was able to achieve or not achieve. It didn't matter. I could just believe in myself starting right now. My outward display of what that means now is that I keep a running document that I call the Fab file. It's my running list of accomplishments, of things that I can be really proud of, things that I've done. And some of them are really small, like fostering dogs. I learned how to do some light coding. It could be anything. Buying my first house. I started with just a list of accomplishments and I didn't judge them as not good enough or not as big of a deal. I just keep it and I add to it constantly. Every time there's some little win, some little thing that, or big thing that I'm proud of, and I add to it. And that way, when I'm not feeling great, I can always remind myself, these are some things, some wonderful things that I've accomplished. And that can remind me I have this choice that even when I don't feel great and things aren't necessarily going my way, I still have access to believing in myself. And here's some awesome evidence for why that's true. How can you infuse self care into your achievement process? I invite you to come up with a plan, and it could be similar to mine. Here's 3 things that you could try right now. Invite some silence into your day. It could just be developing a habit of listening to yourself for a few minutes a day, of just uninterrupted silence, spending some time just paying attention to the thoughts that come up for you without judgment, just noticing. And then make a pact to not judge, dismiss, or criticize yourself. This is not easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's definitely not perfect for me. But once you start noticing these thoughts, this is how you can build self-compassion, is deciding ahead of time not to judge it, dismiss, or criticize, and just notice. I promise you, the more that you make space for that, you'll start to catch when you do judge or criticize or dismiss. You'll start to catch it sooner. You'll notice it quicker. You don't even have to do anything about it. When you start noticing it, you just might feel inclined to answer, how is this true? If you're judging, for instance, with you won't be good at that, I bet that's not true. We don't even know. My favorite to say is, let's find out. Maybe I won't be good at this, but I won't know unless I try. And how much more fun is it to find out that you can than to constantly wonder, what if? And then how can you start to cultivate belief in yourself? I invite you to create a list. Name it whatever you want. And just start it with everything you've accomplished in your life. If you want to put on there, graduated from kindergarten, I think you should do that. Whatever you can add to show yourself that you're amazing. You've accomplished things that you couldn't do before over and over again in your life. You've done new things. You've met new people. You've tried new things. Write everything down and then keep that list running. I keep it on Google Docs so that I can access it from my phone or in my office, so I can add to it wherever I am, and I can look at it whenever I need a little boost. What will you take away from today's episode? My goal is for you to feel inspired to prioritize your own self-care and to infuse self-connection, self-compassion, and self-belief into your decision-making and follow-through practice. Maybe you purposely add in some moments of quiet just to check in with yourself. Prioritize listening to you on a daily basis. You listen to experts all day, other people. You have an amazing amount of wisdom that you should give yourself at least equal airtime for. Maybe you make a pact to not judge, dismiss, or criticize yourself. And look, be okay with being imperfect at that. It's totally fine. Just start noticing it. Perhaps you start a file of achievements that you add to every time you do something new or accomplish something big or small. I'll leave you with this quote from Susan Weiss Berry. With every act of self-care, your authentic self gets stronger and the critical, fearful mind gets weaker. Every act of self-care is a powerful declaration. I am on my side. I am on my side. Each day, I am more and more on my side. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. This helps me reach new people, continue to create content, and brings me joy in my mission to serve. You have everything you need to grow in self-trust through self-care while achieving your goals. Join us next week for episode number 15. Thanks for tuning in and have a trust-filled week. And if you're ready to unlock your self-trust fueled success, join me at theselftrustcoach.com to take the free self-trust quiz. The self-trust quiz will help you identify the areas that may be holding you back and pinpoint where in the achievement process you can use a little extra TLC. Take the free self-trust quiz at theselftrustcoach.com. See you inside.